find out that you had a back injury?
I think it was just continuously playing, and I realized that my back pain wasn't going away. What I thought was just like a temporary, like, oh, I just like pulled something, was more serious than what I thought.
Age and the injury you're facing right now?
I'm Luke Frankel. I'm 18 now, and I tore my ACL last Thanksgiving playing a football game.
I'm Molly Casey from East Bridgewater.
Yep.
And I dance at Paula Coffee's dance studio.
And how did it change your outlook on sports when you first figured out that you were going to have a long-term injury?
I was afraid to tell people because I didn't want to be taken out of the game I love. So for a long time I didn't. But then it got so bad that I had to, and like seeing it as an athlete, like you're just scared to be taken out of the game.
In a way, did it motivate you to work harder than the other players?
It definitely did, because you have to push through the pain as well as like not knowing how to do something like on the field or something. So it definitely like pushed you to do harder.
Did you ever want to give up or stop playing, and what motivated you to keep going?
I did want to give up at some points when the back pain was so unbearable, but I just kept motivating myself and like pushing through because I know I love the game so much, and I was just held on to the fact that my back would get better.
Were you afraid to tell your coaches or parent that you had the injury?
I was definitely terrified to tell them because loving softball so much and like having that like piece of you taken away is just terrifying. Softball is a part of me, and taking that away from me would like tear me apart, I guess.
So it's almost like part of your identity to like be an athlete.
Oh yeah, and all the people that you meet because of it. You don't want that part taken away.
And what do you think the most important step to recovery is?
Definitely rest and seeing doctors and figuring out what's really wrong.
Do
Doctors
it.
tell you rest all the time, but you don't really like put it into play. Like you really do need the rest. As much as it takes you out of the games, like you really do need it.
Yeah, sometimes you don't want to listen, but you kind of have to.
Yeah, you have to.
What's the most important thing for an injured athlete to remember? What's your best advice to them?
I think that the pain will get better over time. Just make sure you like keep attentive to it.
Do you think it's more of a mental thing sometimes?
I think like mentally, like you're thinking about the pain, so yes, it does get worse, but I don't think the pain in general is mental. The pain's definitely physical.
Yeah, and if you have the confidence to get better, do you think that will definitely help you in the end?
Yeah, if you have the hopes to get better, then you will get better.
Yeah. What's so special about being an athlete? What are your favorite memories in sports?
What's so special is like it gives you an identity, like gives you like something to look forward to every single day, and all the people that you meet and like the way you connect with them is just so different than like how you would meet with anybody else.
Because you're all sharing the same bond, right?
Exactly.
And why do you think in general it's important for kids to play sports?
It gives you new people and like different experiences, and it's just a fun time.
So I was running up the sideline with the ball, and I got tackled from behind, and my knee went to like an unnatural position, and it tore my ACL.
And how did you find out that it happened?
So I went to my pediatric doctor, and he wasn't sure. So I went to my orthopedic doctor, and he said just to make sure get an MRI, but he really didn't think it was an ACL. He thought it was a bucket handle meniscus tear. And so eventually I got the MRI, and I found out that it was an ACL tear and a double meniscus tear.
Did you know what an ACL was before it happened?
I did, only from other like stories like from the NFL and stuff like that, how it ruins people's careers and things like that.
And you didn't think maybe it could happen to a student athlete just because of the severity of the recovery?
No, I really had never heard of it before this year, but as you can tell, 4 kids from our class tore their ACL, and that's an epidemic. That's serious.
Yeah. What were your first thoughts when you found out that you needed the surgery and the recovery was going to be 6 months?
I was really surprised. I love playing sports, and that's my whole life. I do that every day, every week, you know. And when an ACL tear, you can't do that. You have to sit on the sidelines. You can't train. You can't do anything, and that's been a part of my life for so long. So losing that was terrible.
So how has your recovery been so far?
So far, it's been great. I mean, the first few weeks after the surgery were terrible. I barely got any sleep. The drugs were terrible, and I was in so much pain, but it's gotten a lot better.
How have you pushed through it?
Just seeing other people who've had the same thing, you know, online videos and other people's point of views, and asking for advice, and my physical therapy really helped a lot.
Yeah. What's the most important thing to remember when recovering, do you think?
it gets better. I think that's the most important thing.
And what's motivating you the most?
I really want to play college football, and I've gotten offers from schools and things like that, and I just want to get out there, get ready, and be as best I can, and hopefully play, but I'm not so sure anymore if I can.
Do you think that you kind of have a better love for sports than you did before the injury?
I feel like I appreciate them more because I understand that they can be taken away at any moment, more so than I did before.
And do you realize that like maybe your friends like take sports for granted, and you
Yeah,
they
I know.
can play?
I know a lot of kids. They say they love sports, but like stuff like in gym class, they don't run, they don't do whatever, and they just take it for granted, and they make fun of kids with injuries and things like that, and that makes me sad because they don't know what they're missing. What they have that I'm missing. You know what I mean?
Mhm. So why do you want to get better as soon as possible and not take your time with recovery?
I want to get better because it's really life altering. Like there's so much stuff that you can't do that you could do before that you didn't even think about. Like, well, the main reason for me is I want to play college football.
Yeah.
But
And
other
even the
reasons.
small things
Yeah.
too, or
Yeah, exactly. Like I always played basketball with my friends at certain places, and I can't do that anymore. I have to focus on my recovery, and I don't want to risk tearing it again.
yes. So why do you enjoy sports, and what's the best things about it?
I love sports because it gives you like a sense of competitiveness, like with people around you and your friends. It depends on who you're playing with, but I love it just because it's something I can do, it's something I'm good at, and something that I can really work hard at.
Yeah.
And I just always like a challenge, and you can always be better.
What are the memories that you've had throughout the years?
Really, just a lot of football mostly, but some basketball memories too, like certain game-winning plays that I've been a part of and stuff like that, and last-minute wins, and really emotional times with my team.
What is your advice for recovering athletes when they're going through these?
Just keep on trying, do your best. You want to get back to it as soon as possible, I'd imagine, because that's how I feel, and never give up. Keep working your hardest.
And why is it so important to work hard in recovery? Because sports are so special and obviously important to you.
It's really important to work hard in recovery because if you don't, it's not easy to recover. It takes a long time. And the faster you work, the faster you will be able to get back to how you used to be.
Because you want to get back to your regular
Yeah.
lifestyle.
Yep.
And did anyone try to tell you to stop playing, or?
A lot of my friends, I mean, I don't know if it's joking or not, but they're like, oh, you're never going to play like the same way you used to. You're never going to be the same as you used to be before.
How does that
you
make
tour.
you really feel?
Oh, it upsets me. But I mean, I'm going to prove them wrong. I've always been that way, so I'm not worried about that.
That's awesome.
At my dance recital, my freshman year, I did a split on stage, and my left knee was on the back, and I hit it against the ground too hard, and I dislocated it, and finished dancing on it, which is probably not a good idea.
And what were your first thoughts on the injury when they told you what the diagnosis was?
Well, I've had a previous problem of dislocating my knee before, and usually I would dislocate it, and then 24 hours later, it was like it didn't happen, and it felt fine, so I had kind of been used to it, but this was like way worse, and I knew that something was different because, like I said, it usually felt better right after, and it didn't, and it was really, really bad, so I was scared that I kind of knew that I did some real damage because I was used to it, but not used to this much of pain, so I was scared. It's definitely hard to, like, watch dance recital videos from before I heard it and see, like, oh, I wish I had, like, gone more full out and, like, tried harder when I still could, and then watching dance recital videos, like, post-injury and seeing, like, oh, I couldn't do that much because it hurt so much, so, like, it just made me wish that I hadn't, not, like, I don't know, it made me wish that I had just done more when I could, and now, like, that I physically can't do everything that I want to do, it's harder.
And do you think, like, some of your other friends may take it for granted because, like, you know, they don't face an injury, they don't see
Oh, yeah, definitely, like, this year when I go to class and I see my team, I just, like, it hurts to, like, see them, and I'm like, dance as full out as you can while you can, because you don't, like, they don't, most of them, like, don't know, haven't really had injuries, and I'm like, you need to appreciate it now, because God forbid anything happen, like, you want to be able to look back and say, I, like, did it as much as I could,
So even though you keep, kind of, like, having these surgeries and stuff, like, why do you continue to dance? Like, what's motivating you to keep going?
So I've danced since I was 3 years old, and I met my best friends at dance. Like, the people that I consider like my very closest friends, I don't go to school with them. They're from other towns, but I met them when I was 3, when I started dancing, and we're still really close. And like, the whole atmosphere of the dance just brings so many people together. Like, I love everyone that I dance with, and I don't dance with anyone from my town, so all these friends, it's so easy to meet new people, and we get really, really close to them. And I don't know, it's so hard when you have to sit out and dance, like, you kind of realize, like, how much it means to you, so then you just want to do everything, or to me, so you just gotta do everything to get back.
Exactly.
I just keep saying I would rather blow my knee out at my last senior year dance recital and say that I was able to
do it.
To dance from the time I was 3 until I was 18, and then if I can't dance in college, it's fine, because that won't be with my studio, but I just really, really love my studio, and I love our dance recitals, and I would be, like, devastated if I couldn't do it my senior year. So I don't care if I injure it more. I just want to get through the recital.
Yeah. And how are you specifically limited? So what kind of classes can you still take?
When I went to the doctors in December, that was about 6 or 7 months after surgery, and he told me to start with tap because it wouldn't have the risk of, like, turning and jumping that you would have in ballet or jazz. Except tap is, I think, harder than he was realizing because it's a lot of, like, pounding on your feet, and it is some jumping. I mean, tap is, like, a lot of energy, but that's easier for me to do than all these, like, big kicks and jumps that I would do in, like, a lyrical dance or something.
Yeah. Or what's the most important step to recovery for athletes?
I would say definitely listening to your doctors and waiting the recommended time that they give you, because they give you that recommended time for a reason. They're like the experts. They know how long it takes you to heal, and if you rush into it, you're gonna hurt yourself more. And like, I learned that I waited the amount of time, but like the minimum amount of time before I jumped back into it, and then I probably could have stood to wait a little bit longer.
So kind of like the same, but like, why is dance so important to you, like, as an individual?
Well, I didn't do, like, any sports when I was a kid. Like, I never did soccer or, like, t-ball or anything. I've just always danced. And especially, like, when I got older and I started doing competitions, like, it starts taking up more of your time. It's 2 or 3 nights a week instead of just 1. If you're in regular classes, it's, like, an hour and a half every week. When you're on team, it's 3 hours on Saturday, 3 hours on the weeknight. And you just, like, I mean, with every sport, but, like, you really just become, like, a dance family, and you travel together, and you're at competitions, then you're at awards at 11 o'clock p.m., and it's a lot different than doing other types of sports, so it's a little bit different.
So if you have any advice to someone who just got injured and, you know, they have, like, a long recovery ahead of them, like, what could you say to them?
Definitely don't push yourself too much, but you have to stay motivated. Like, if you want to get back, if you're, like, doing a sport or something and you want to get back to it, you have to know that you have to take the necessary steps, because if you don't, you won't get back to it. And if you try to get back to it without taking the steps, you're just going to hurt yourself more. Like, if I, like, didn't wait all the time that I needed to after surgery, I would probably be in, like, a really rough shape right now, but I did, and it was really hard to wait. Like, I had to not be on my competition team this year on some of them, which is, like, really hard because these are the people I've been dancing with, but, like, I knew that, like, part of me wanted to be like, oh, well, I'll just dance anyways, and I don't care if I hurt it, but, like, looking back, like, even after waiting the 7 months, I'm still not that great. So, like, I know that if I had started earlier, it would have been so much worse. Like, I know it's, like, really hard to make the choice to actually rest, but if you want to get better, you have to. It's not really an option.
I'm Michelle DeCastro. I'm the physical education coordinator and coach for the middle senior high school.
When an injury does occur, like, what do you think motivates athletes to give their very best and maybe suffer through some pain that isn't that career ending?
like for instance, we have a lot of players who, you know, won't tell me if they sprain an ankle or not. They just want to play, and they know if they tell me that they're injured, I'm going to make them rest because I want them to be 100% for now as well as for, you know, their future. We don't want them to be injured for any longer than they need to be. But they do hide that because they want to be able to play, and that competitiveness just drives them.
And can you kind of relate to that?
Absolutely. There's been many times growing up where I played through broken foot. I played, broken thumbs, fingers in basketball and things of that nature. And I just, when you're so competitive, you want to play and you don't want to stop. And you know, sometimes they don't want to seem weak, and you don't want your coach like, oh, you know, so and so doesn't, you know, push through the pain. So I have to do that. So I can definitely relate to that.
Yeah. So what do you think is so special about students being engaged in sports?
It's great. I don't regret any injury that I've had because I've just loved every moment of every team that I've been on. You get the sense of, you know, community, a family within your team, the competitiveness. I'm very competitive. I love all of that. And I think if, you know, people have that sense of team and family, it teaches you a lot of things. It teaches you to not give up. It teaches you to work hard, to push through, not necessarily the pain, but, you know, when you're tired, you learn to, you know, push through your limits.
And what's the most important thing that you can tell athletes that are recovering from long-term injuries?
Stay strong and do what you're supposed to be doing. When the PT tells you you need to do these exercises at home, do those exercises at home, because the exercise that you do there is great, but you need to carry that on and do everything you're told. So if your doctor says you're not ready to run yet, you're not ready to run yet. So you have to be a good listener and follow those rules so that you can get back. I have seen many, you know, kids that I've played with back in the old times and now who they try to go back too soon and they either re-injure themselves or they damage something else because they're not quite ready yet.
My name's Derek Nance. I'm 30 years of age, and I was playing soccer when I got hurt.
And what college did you play for?
I played for Appalachian State University in North Carolina.
And when did you tear your ACL?
Probably midway through my freshman season, so 2007, 2008, Tom. In the middle of a game, I was the goalkeeper, and I just took a turn. I guess my foot was planted and the rest of my body was not. Took a turn and just went down, and took me a little longer than it should have to get up. I started playing from the, you know, completely recreation age when, you know, mom would make you go to it, all the way to played through high school, college. I played club ball, all the way to, you know, just simple adult leagues here and there. And I still play, but nowhere near to the competition level. I still play to this day and have since I recovered.
And you still enjoy it just as much as you did
Oh
back
yeah,
then?
absolutely. You know, you've got artists that paint, you've got people that play music, and, you know, for me, it's getting out with a soccer ball is just a way to get away from the world, I guess. So.
And what's your advice to recovering athletes that may have a ACL recovery or a concussion or, say, just any long-term injury?
Don't play too soon. Don't get out there sooner. Don't get out there when you think you're better. Wait till a professional gives you the go ahead, because, you know, you want to talk about risking another injury. If you get out there before it's time, not only could you re-injure what you originally did, but it's probably going to be 10 times worse. So definitely take your time with recovery. It's not where it's better to go the short amount of time to not play than to never play again.
My name is Rich McLaughlin. I am a physical therapist over at Orthopedic Care Physicians Network Rehab. It's a mouthful. I'm 30 years old, and I graduated from Northeastern University.
Do you see an increase in athletes becoming injured in the recent years, or do you think it's been the same?
A significant increase. You know, there's a bunch of different opinions with this kind of thing. I know just me talking with other therapists and kind of colleagues around, you know, not even just this clinic, but even other facilities is, you know, I attribute a lot of it to we see a lot more people involved with kind of club sports. We see a lot more people doing, you know, trying to be one sport athletes with playing softball or soccer or basketball year round. And with that kind of stuff, I find you only develop kind of certain groups of muscles and certain movements and that kind of stuff. And then all of a sudden when your body's, you know, forced to kind of react to a different situation, sometimes it's not ready to. and that's how some of these injuries happen. I think too, just with all of the the weightlifting is all different now, and the training and all that kind of stuff, is sometimes people are getting too strong too quickly with some of this stuff, especially during some of the early kind of phases of growing and development and that kind of thing, with all the hormone changes and all that kind of jazz. Aside from just the physical part of like exercise and stretching people and mobilizations and modalities and all that kind of stuff, is you end up more as kind of a mental kind of guidance counselor, with kind of talking people through the phases of rehab, whether it's an ACL with the first 4 to 6 weeks you can only do so and so, and then by 8 weeks we're doing this, and then by 12 weeks it's no different than that with somebody who's had a knee replacement or a shoulder. There are kind of guidelines and criteria, and that stuff will all vary person to person based upon what people are trying to get back to, and also what other people already have going on kind of within their bodies and their lives and stuff.
And why do you think some patients are more motivated than others?
That's a good question. As far as motivation goes, if you have goals, goals in life, somebody's goal could be to make sure they get to the bathroom first thing in the morning before they, make a mess, which I have for some of my older people. Other goals are, getting back to sports, being able to go up and down stairs, being able to get out of your bed by yourself. The goals, again, are, everything, I put everything in kind of a case-by-case kind of bubble, as far as, one person's goals aren't going to be the same as somebody else's, so you can't try to push people toward that kind of stuff. If people are going to be self-motivating, they also they get better faster. I tell people on the first day, usually people who want to get better. And I'm a firm believer in that, because if you're going to do this stuff to kind of try to put yourself in the best situation to succeed, there's no reason why that can't happen. Does that happen at different times for different people? Absolutely. But as far as motivation goes, it's a person-to-person thing, and I can try to be as motivating as I can, whether it's with positive or negative feedback, depending upon the person. But yeah, the more motivated you can be with anything, whether it's learning in school, whether it's this kind of physical medicine kind of field, I think it serves you well as far as to be successful.
What is your best advice to recovering young athletes?
Listen to your therapist. Yeah, a lot of that can just be, you have to be patient with the process, as much as sometimes things feel like they're healed or they're fixed and that kind of stuff. Sometimes the people that have studied medicine and seen a bunch of people kind of go through, the whole train, the trek that kind of you've gone through, have seen people in that same position and then do things foolish that they don't want you to kind of repeat. So patience is kind of one thing. The other thing is to, if you can be self-motivating and not need other people to motivate you, it makes it easier, because you have things to look forward to and kind of progress towards that, is going to make just the whole process seem a little quicker. I will say a lot of times it feels like it takes forever to kind of, with any, especially post-surgical. A lot of this is stemming over kind of the ACL stuff, ACL surgery, that kind of thing, is, the first 3 to 4 weeks are usually dragging, and people are going crazy thinking that, they'll never be able to walk again, all this kind of stuff. And then 4 weeks after that, we're jumping. And then 4 weeks after that, we're running. And then now we're talking about going back to sports. And it's like, well, where did time go, But yeah, the biggest thing is just be patient with the process, and, listen to the people who are giving you advice. And the other thing is, if you don't like the advice you're getting from one person, go ask somebody else, because there's different opinions on all kinds of stuff. We live in a great country where you have the ability to seek out multiple opinions with different doctors or different therapists, all that kind of stuff. So if one person doesn't say what you want to hear and you go to somebody else and they say the same thing as the first person, well, maybe you should listen to the first person. But kind of utilize all your resources with everything, for sure.
Nobody say, nobody